Lewis Hamilton has spoken clearly. Ferrari is updating, but the problem remains. What's happening with the SF-25? Can the 7-time champion relive his glory in red? Lewis Hamilton didn't just change teams. He changed culture, technical philosophy, environment, and, above all, his comfort zone. After a golden era with Mercedes, where he won 6 of his 7 world titles, the British driver made one of the riskiest decisions of his career, signing for Ferrari. Many saw it as a symbolic move. The most successful of his generation, seeking to close out his career with the most legendary team in motorsport. But behind the romanticism was a mission to revive a sleeping giant. And from the first test in Bahrain, Hamilton made it clear. He said he felt positive things about the SF-25, more than he had felt with a new car in a long time. But Formula One is unforgiving. What began with excitement quickly turned into a technical labyrinth. The SF-25, designed with extreme aerodynamics in mind, proved to be a very responsive car. Its operating window, that is, the range in which the car performs at its maximum level, is so narrow that any slight deviation in height or configuration makes it unstable, difficult to control. And for Hamilton, adapting to this car has been like relearning how to drive. After years with Mercedes, where every reaction of the car was predictable, switching to the SF-25 meant facing a different engine, a different power delivery, and a chassis that demands a different approach to cornering. Every turn, every braking, every acceleration, everything changed, and it shows, especially on Saturdays. In qualifying, where you need to extract 100% of the car in a single lap, Hamilton is still far from Leclerc's level. In Bahrain, he finished 0.6 behind his teammate. In other races, he has been consistently outperformed. And the hardest part hasn't been the result, but the feeling of helplessness. On several radio stations, Hamilton has apologized to the team. He's blamed himself. And that, coming from someone who has dominated this era, says a lot. But it's not a lack of talent. It's a process. It's the price of changing technical universes. Because Ferrari isn't Mercedes. Because this car isn't the one he knew. And because this challenge isn't just any old one. It's the champion's last great challenge. The SF-25 is a work of engineering with a central problem. It only works well when it's in near-perfect condition. Ferrari pursued a design philosophy that sought maximum aerodynamic efficiency, but encountered an unexpected enemy: inconsistency. In Bahrain, Ferrari introduced its first major package of updates. They completely redesigned the car's floor and diffuser. These parts are key to generating downforce in this era of ground effect cars. What does this mean? That most of the car's performance depends on what happens beneath the chassis. How the air is channeled, how the flow entering through the edges is controlled, and how it is sealed against the asphalt to maintain stability. The problem with the SF-25 is that this downforce is lost very easily. Even if the car is raised 1 or 2 millimeters more than ideal, performance plummets. It's a car that only works well when extremely low. But if you lower it too much, you run into conflict with the regulations. The FIA measures the wear of the floorboard, and if it wears more than allowed, disqualification. Exactly what happened to Hamilton in China. The Bahrain update attempted to correct that. The new floor incorporated more aggressive aerodynamic barriers, a modified side lip to better manage vortices, and a redesigned rear diffuser to maintain a more stable airflow at different heights. They even added L-shaped fins on the rear wing mounts to improve the car's overall balance. Details such as the brake air intakes were also modified. All of this had a single objective: to widen the car's operating window, so that the SF-25 wouldn't lose so much downforce when it had to run higher, to make it more manageable, more predictable, more consistent. Because in such a tight season, half a second can be the difference between fighting for the podium or being stuck in the middle. But the improvements weren't the definitive solution. They worked, yes. Progress was noticeable. The car gained some stability, especially in slow corners. But it's still far from being a dominant car. McLaren and Red Bull still have an advantage because their cars maintain performance even when they're not in ideal conditions. Ferrari, on the other hand, needs everything to be perfectly aligned. Setup, temperature, ground clearance, and even the slightest variation penalizes it. That's the challenge of the SF-25. It's not slow. It's not bad. It's simply too demanding. And when you have a driver like Hamilton trying to adapt, the combination becomes even more delicate. The challenge Ferrari faces isn't simply improving the car, it's redefining its performance from the ground up. And at the heart of this challenge are Loic Serra and Diego Tondi, the two engineers leading the technical development of the SF-25. They're not working on a slow car, but on an incomplete car. because the SF-25 has speed, but only when everything is just right. And that, in Formula One, is a very serious problem. Ferrari's goal right now is to expand the operating window, to make the car competitive even when it's not at its ideal point. Because in real-world racing conditions with fuel, wind, degraded tires, or changing track conditions, no car can stay within that ultra-narrow performance band that the SF-25 demands. To that end, engineers are working on a second package of updates. And it won't be a simple evolution. What's coming is a more in-depth redesign of the floor, the diffuser, and possibly the rear wing. They're looking to modify how downforce is generated and distributed throughout the car's structure. It's not just about adding downforce, but keeping it constant, preventing it from collapsing when the car rises higher than expected. The SF-25's aerodynamic problem is so specific that it can't be solved with patches. It's not a matter of engine mapping, suspension, or chassis torsion. As expert Matteo Bobbi said, the difference lies in the car's sensitivity to changes in height. While other teams lose 2 or 3 downforce points when they rise 1 millimeter, Ferrari loses up to 15. This is a massive drop in performance, making it impossible to find a good compromise between speed and reliability. Furthermore, Ferrari's engineers are operating under immense pressure, because every new part must go through simulators, wind tunnels, and then be validated on the track. The slightest miscalculation can mean lost weeks. And in such a tight championship, that can mean the difference between fighting for a podium or for points. That's why the work in Maranello doesn't stop. Every track session is an opportunity to collect data, to understand how the car behaves in different configurations, and to fine-tune development. But it's not a quick process. Structural solutions don't happen overnight. And Ferrari knows this. That's why they're betting on a strategy of continuous evolution. Small improvements that, together, can give the SF-25 the stability it needs. And for Lewis Hamilton, this process is key. Because the more predictable the car is, the faster he can adapt. The more confident he will be in every corner. The more he can focus on making the most of his talent, rather than fighting against a car that changes its behavior with every braking. Ferrari's success in 2025 won't depend on a miraculous major redesign. It will depend on this meticulous, methodical, almost artisanal work of understanding the car piece by piece, corner by corner, until it becomes a war machine. That is the mission of its engineers. And right now, it is the only thing that can save their season. What lies ahead for Ferrari and Hamilton is not just another race. It is a moment of truth. Because the next few days will determine whether the SF-25 project has a real future, or if it will remain as another frustrated attempt by Maranello in its long quest for redemption. Ferrari has already begun collecting data from the first package of improvements introduced in Bahrain. And although the signals have been mixed, the team has gained invaluable information. They know precisely where the car performs well, where it fails, and what kind of solutions can work. But most importantly, they are understanding how the car evolves when the track, the weather, or the race strategy changes. The focus now is twofold: improving the car and giving Hamilton what he needs to compete. Because Ferrari has understood that the SF-25 can't be a car that only works when everything is perfect. It has to be robust. It has to adapt. It has to be able to perform well even when conditions are unpredictable, as they are on almost every Formula One weekend. That requires bold decisions. We're likely to see in the coming races additional modifications to the floor, the diffuser, and even the overall aerodynamic package. Changes that not only aim to make the car faster but more stable, easier to drive. Because if there's one thing Hamilton has proven, it's that when he trusts the car, he can get tenths of a second off the line where no one else can. His victory in the Chinese sprint was no fluke. It was a sign. In a narrow window, when the SF-25 was close to its sweet spot, Hamilton responded like the champion he is. And that gave the team something it desperately needed: confidence. Knowing that when the conditions are right, the potential is there. But it's not enough to have potential. Ferrari has to build consistency. It has to ensure that level can be replicated at every circuit. And that doesn't come with a single update. It comes with a continuous development plan, with smart decisions, with drivers who provide direction, and with patience. Charles Leclerc made it clear. The short-term goal is to maximize what the car can offer, even if that means accepting a 3rd or 4th place. But the ambition is intact. Ferrari doesn't race to finish on the podium. It races to win. And all the work that comes next, every iteration, every new part, every piece of data collected, is focused on that, becoming the car to beat again. For Hamilton, this is the time to build. Not for immediate results, but to lay the foundation for what could be a stronger second half of the season. Adapt to the car, collaborate with the engineers, find consistency on Saturdays, and prepare the ground to attack when the SF-25 is finally ready. What comes next isn't the climax of the story. It's the point where it will be decided whether this story of Ferrari and Hamilton will be a glorious rebirth or a missed opportunity. Ferrari and Hamilton. Two names who alone have already written unforgettable chapters in the history of Formula One, but who together have yet to make their mark. This project is more than a technical endeavor. It's a declaration of principles, an act of faith on both sides. Ferrari betting on a champion to restore glory to Maranello. Hamilton risking his legacy to attempt something few would dare, start over. But what's most striking isn't the speed of the car. It's not the timesheets. It's the invisible struggle behind every tenth of a second. It's seeing Hamilton with 7 titles under his belt, apologizing on the radio, acknowledging his mistakes, accepting that he's not in his best form. That's not weakness. That's greatness. Because only those who truly want to win are capable of being so self-critical when things don't go as expected. And on the other side, Ferrari. A team that has suffered disappointment after disappointment for more than a decade. That has come close, but not close enough. That has changed directors, drivers, philosophies, without yet finding the formula that will return them to the top. And now, with the SF-25, they know they don't have an unbeatable car. But they do have a chance, a path, and a driver willing to follow it to the end. This isn't just a story of performance. It's a story of redemption, of ambition, of rebuilding. Because when Hamilton signed for Ferrari, he didn't do it to be a supporting actor. He did it to win. And if that doesn't happen today or tomorrow, it doesn't matter. Because what matters is that every weekend, every lap, every development brings him a little closer to that goal. This may not be the year Ferrari wins the championship. We may not see celebrations at Monza just yet. But what's at stake goes beyond a trophy. It's about building a machine capable of competing at the highest level. It's about believing again. And that's why this story remains open. Because when a driver like Hamilton and a team like Ferrari come together, anything can happen. They just need time. They just need the pieces to fall into place. They just need an opportunity. And when that opportunity comes, no one will want to be in front of them.